This is Rob Tubbett for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm here with Ben Davison. We're at the MGM Grand. It is Fury Valin fight week here in Las Vegas. How you doing, Ben?
I'm good, Rob, and you?
Very well, thank you, mate. Very well. Second time we've done this today, but slightly different vibe, this interview, than the one we did earlier.
More of a chilled vibe now, isn't it? Like a Bob Arum vibe.
I don't think we're quite as chilled as Bob Arum is.
Yeah, true.
So, it's been a while since we've done like an interview that's kind of agendaless, I guess. Is probably a good way of putting it. Usually it's tell me about this fight or tell me about this fighter. I had an idea that I've never actually really properly sat down and tried to talk to you about your story. Sounds very.
We did a little bit.
Yeah, but now I think your career and through association your life has moved on since then. I think it might be interesting to kind of pick your brain on a few things.
Whatever you think, mate. Whatever you think.
Okay. So.
What do you mean, agendaless? Like, obviously there's an agenda. Like, obviously we're talking. Mind you, we spoke about the fight earlier, I suppose.
Exactly, yeah. So what I mean by agendaless, usually for people who are watching, you'll sit down or you'll stand up and you'll do an interview about a fight, about a specific fighter or about something that's been spoken about or rumoured, and then you kind of go from there. Not really anything planned here. So let's see how we get on. Ben, why are you interested in boxing? Where did that start?
Where did I get interested in boxing? The same way every other kid does, really. Family. My dad boxed. The same way everybody does. How did you get in boxing?
I got involved in boxing. My granddad is a big boxing fan,
Family.
even now, yeah. And I used to be babysat by him, and rather than, I don't know, pictures, and he used to show me fights. So probably explains a lot.
It's always family, isn't it? It's always family. I think how people actually get involved in boxing is always pretty much the same way. And I think, to be honest, most people's story in boxing is the same, isn't it? Really.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Go on, give me an example. Shall I give you the breakdown of how most people's boxing story goes? Family get involved. It's usually a lot of the time it's bullying, where they're getting bullied, or the dad goes to the gym, or they follow their brother to the gym, or follow their friend to the gym, get involved, fall in love with it, and sort of goes that way. But I suppose from a boxing reporter it's different, isn't it? Actually, but that is the usual someone involved in boxing's path, would you say?
I wouldn't say the usual, but it is definitely a story that you hear quite a lot, I would say, in boxing. Specific to you, because I know you boxed to a certain level, but you've now gained acclaim, as it were, as a professional trainer. When did that happen? Because I know that you played football at a decent level when you were younger. You also boxed at a decent level. Talk to me about the kind of process of becoming the trainer to the lineal heavyweight champion of the world.
Obviously, like I say, I got involved in boxing from a young age. Boxed as a kid. Then when I got to about 13, 14, my dad sort of said to me, you have to make a decision what you want to do. Choose football or boxing. I chose football. But when I was playing football, I was carried on going to the gym. And at a gym, one of the boxing gyms that I was going to, one of the owner said to me, look, I'd gone into non-league football, so part-time football at this point, and he said to me, if you would you be interested in getting your training qualifications, etc., etc., in case football or whatever didn't work out. I said yes. At the same sort of time I started going back to boxing myself, competing, and then I'd gone through my training qualifications, learnt a lot, and but the first fighter that really probably spotted my ability to be able to see things was Billy Joe, and one thing led to another, and then all of a sudden he'd start asking me a little bit more. Can we do a session today? Can blah 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 blah. and the sessions have become more and more and more often, more frequent, more engaging, more thorough. He'd take my word a little bit more. And then he asked me at one point, would I be interested in working with him full time? So I decided at that point to make a decision. I decided to go down that route. You get talent, you get, Billy Joe's God gifted, Tyson's God gifted, and to be able to work with somebody like that at an early stage was a blessing. Some would say luck. I suppose part of it is luck, being able to work with a fighter of that caliber so early on, but also, they need to be getting they need to feel like they're getting, whether they was or wasn't is opinions, but they need to feel that they're getting a certain level of coaching and training for them to engage in that and be interested in that and want to do that and want to employ somebody. So, I ended up starting to work with Billy Joe, and I learnt a hell of a lot under somebody like Jimmy Tibbs. Being around Jimmy, I learnt a hell of a lot. The most, off of Jimmy, I'd say that I always sort of had an eye technically, from a technical standpoint, myself. But I learnt from Jimmy things that you can only get from experience. Now, it's not the amount of experience, it's the quality of experience. I've said this a lot, and I was very, very lucky to spend time around Jimmy, I'm very good at learning from others' mistakes or gaining information from others, and sitting around Jimmy, I'll just sit there. Jimmy was very hands-on and liked to do things, but he was very, what's the word I'm looking for? Accepting, or he was okay with me sitting there watching and getting involved bits here and bits there, and over time he gave me a little bit more trust and allowed me to do things, and just sitting there and watching. The main thing I learned from Jimmy is round management, and that's something that you can only get through experience and seeing and being able to read a fighter's tank, how a fighter's feeling, when to push somebody, when to hold somebody back, how it looks when somebody's overtraining. Being able to manage a fighter, it's hard to put a key on what that thing was that Jimmy had, and I feel like I was able to gain and develop that information and that part of what Jimmy had to be able to take on and give to the fighters that I work with today. So I was very very thankful for that and very lucky with that opportunity, and obviously having a background of being able to go through my training qualifications, I learned a lot about different types of training and the body and the nutrition. So not an expert in those fields by any means, but I have a half decent level of understanding. But working with somebody at top level, elite level, I'm lucky enough to be able to employ experts in that area. So I had a good apprenticeship, so to speak, being around people like that and going through those qualifications.
Are there parts of being a trainer or working in boxing that you can only get through experience, or do you believe that it is possible? I mean, how old are you now?
26.
I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't swear, but it was 20. Beep. Yeah, I had to beep you earlier. I have to beep me this time. You're 26. It would seem to me, as somebody who's followed boxing for an awful long time, that there are only things that you will be able to learn through experience. Do you agree with that?
Yes, but age is an experience, and that's where a lot of people go wrong. People think age is experience, but it's not. Like I said, I was lucky enough to spend time around Jimmy, and spending a couple of years around Jimmy, 2, 3, 4 years, couldn't tell you how long it was, I can't remember now, but being able to spend that time around somebody like Jimmy, I gained probably what people would say 20 to 30 years worth of experience, and it takes, I'm not blowing my own trumpet by any means, but it takes intelligence. There's a lot, of course, there's people that's been in the gym with Jimmy Tibbs before, do you know what I mean, and watched him work and watched him train and whatnot, watched him work with his boxers, but it takes a certain level of intelligence to be able to actually, and you have to be on the same sort of wavelength to be able to say, I get that, I understand, I'm seeing where he's coming from. that makes sense to me, you know. Because some people, I've done it before. I've tried to help others, explain to others my own philosophy. And when they speak back to me, I think you just completely do not get what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to get at. So, you know, it takes a certain level of intelligence, but yeah, of course, experience is there are certain things that you need experience for. But even going back, it's just popped in my head. And I never forget this, but because we was talking about boxing, when I was playing football, there was a coach called Colin Reid. And I remember one day he stopped at the whole team, and he said, "It's not your fault you've not got a professional contract. It's not your fault you've not got a professional contract. It's not your fault you've not got a professional contract." He said, "Because football's that easy. Anybody can do it." He said, "And it's our fault as coaches that you've not been coached well enough to make the right decisions and know what to do in every single situation." And the way he broke football down, and the way he spoke, and how he simplified things, I took that as well into my coaching. So, you know, as you're developing, you're always developing. The moment, a lot of the time, as people get older, they start to get a little bit of an ego and a little bit of a, I suppose a bit of an ego. They're not willing to learn. They're not willing to say, "Oh, that was good. I like what that trainer did there." Or I like what, and it hasn't even got to be football. It hasn't even got to be boxing. Sorry, you know, it can be in any sport, any walk of life. They might like the way somebody broke that down, or they might like this or that, and you know. So I took a lot from him as well, and I'd love to be able to. I always think about being able to get in contact with him, but because he was a very intelligent man in a way where the general person wouldn't say he was intelligent, but he was very, very intelligent and very good at his job. So, you know, that's all experience. That's all experience. And it's sort of, I've took bits here, took bits there along the way. Bits from the training qualifications that I've done, a bit from getting coached in football, a bit from being under Jimmy. So, and of course, sometimes I'm working with a fighter and I think, I like the way he does that. That fighter over there would do well adding that into his repertoire. So, it is experience as well. And but I also think that sometimes no matter how much experience you have, some people just don't have it as well.
Talk about philosophy without, I know you won't reveal entirely your secrets, as it were, but what is your philosophy, as best you can describe it?
I believe that there's an answer for everything in boxing that your opponent's going to do, is what I'm going to say. And I believe that there's a way to... different styles, there's always a way to safely handle those opponents as safe as possible, you know. I'm not the type of trainer that would like to see my fighters taking too many shots. I'm not a trainer that would like to take too many risks in terms of too much of a brave trainer. If you don't get hit, you don't get beat. And again, you know, that was something that I learned a lot from Jimmy about. That was the way he coached, you know. So there's an answer for everything in boxing, but you just have to understand how to go about it. And I don't want to go into too much detail in terms of how, but that is as simple answer as I can give you.
Something that's been levelled at you in the past, not necessarily as a criticism. In some cases, it has been as a criticism. Would you consider yourself a defensive coach? What's a defensive coach? What makes a defensive coach? Somebody that doesn't train their fighters to put their hands up around their head and walk forward, or throw a million punches without focusing on what's coming back. Then, if somebody that doesn't do that is classed as a defensive coach, then yeah, I am. If I'm just the type of coach that tries to coach the art of boxing, of hitting and not getting hit, then you wouldn't say it's a defensive coach. It's just coaching boxing. But I don't know. People sometimes, boxing's broader now than it was before. You know, there's a lot more varied type of fans
into boxing. So you don't just get people that watch boxing. You know, you get everyday people watching boxing, and in this day and age with social media, etc., everybody can have an opinion. So the non-boxing people that don't appreciate the art of boxing will probably be like watching a technical boxer in a chess match. Will probably be like, oh, have something to moan about. But somebody that enjoys to watch the art of boxing will appreciate it. You're never going to please everybody. And I also believe weight categories can also play a part on strategy as well, and philosophy to a certain degree, from a lighter weight to a heavier weight. So because the game does change as you go up in the weights, it is slightly different. So am I classed as a defensive coach? That's up to people's opinions. I just believe that I try to coach to the best of my ability the art of boxing, of hitting and not getting hit.
It's the third fight in a row that I've joined you in America for.
To throw that one in.
Yeah, no problem. How's your life changed, and how have you changed? I know that you will say that you haven't changed.
Yeah.
I don't think it's physically possible for a human to not change, considering where you were and where you are now.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? And if not, which I'm sure you don't, explain.
Physically changed. I've gained.
Not physically. How have you changed as a person, and how have you changed as a coach? I think that's what I said.
How have I changed as a coach? How have I changed as a person first?
I can't for the life of me believe that you haven't changed as a person. I can't. It would be against every instinct of human nature, I believe.
Of course there's changes. I would say that, but there's changes in some ways and not changes in others, you know. I've changed in respect of going through the journey that we've gone through with Tyson, spending time around him, going through. And Tyson's the type of person that he's an extremist, so he's either all the way up there or he's all the way down there. And if he's all the way up there, what's going to happen? There's going to be a big drop if there's a big high, and if there's obviously it's not good for somebody to sit too low. So it can be very taxing for people around him because he's such a big influence and such a big character. When he's on an extreme mood. So, you know, part of my job is to sort of get on that level with him. If he's really up, you have to get really up with him to help bring him back down and balance him. And if he's really low, you sort of have to get deep and low and have deep conversations with him to bring him back. But to see what he's gone through and how the family stuck together by him and things like that, it does change. It makes you think a little bit more about life, seeing somebody go through what he's gone through, and the importance of it and what's important in life. So I suppose to a certain degree, maybe my outlook on some things have changed. Not maybe, they have. My outlook on some things have changed. But in terms of a person, I would say that for what the public would see of me, he's probably a little bit different because I feel a little bit more free to joke, to have a laugh, to mess about, to be myself a little bit more. Whereas before, especially, it was partly due to Tyson having to being in those moods. I had to be very balanced. I had to be very. We got a job to do. That was it. There was no let's have a laugh, because if he was having a laugh, he was having a right laugh, you know. And I had to be very balanced for a long time. And I'm a joking kind of character. I have a laugh. I mess about. I'm childish at times, but also mature beyond my years at times. So I think probably the public see a little bit more of a jokey side to me now than before, and also probably at the time people. Being very wary of somebody being my age, and I was wary of somebody being my age and taking on a job of this task. I knew that my coaching ability was good enough, but obviously being new to media and things like that, I was a little bit wary, so I probably didn't show as much of myself as I do now. And in terms of coaching, always developing. If I didn't keep developing and keep picking things up and changing and improving and constantly learning new things, then I'd be disappointed in myself, put it that way.
Now, I know you're a big boxing fan, probably an understatement. Tyson himself, boxing historian, throughout the annals of history, throughout boxing history, there has never been a 26-year-old who has trained consensus, whatever you want to call it, the number one heavyweight in the world.
Yeah.
That's a lot of trainers, a lot of champions, a lot of fighters. Does that resonate with you? Do you feel that now, or do you block that out? Because it is unheard of. Not to massage your ego, but I mean, for people who are watching this who already think I kiss your ass, just have a look at boxing history.
Yeah.
There's never been a 26-year-old who looks after the number one heavyweight in the world. However we want to slice it and dice it, that's...
Yeah. No, because I don't sit there and think to myself... But even when I said to you I'm 26, I was thinking, am I? I was questioning it. I don't think about that. I don't think like that. I focus on... When I'm working with Tyson, if we're in the gym, I'm not thinking, I'm 26 and I'm fucking doing this and I'm doing that. I'm thinking, where can I improve him? What's right? What's wrong? How is he looking today? Should I do this with him today? I had that plan, but I'm thinking this. Now I've seen him warm up. I'm changing my idea, or do you know what? That'll do today. Or I'm thinking, let's push him a little bit harder. I'm thinking, what's Christian going to be doing with him tonight? Or I can see it might be, what's he eating this morning? Or does he look fueled? Does he this? Does he that? Or I'm thinking about what we need to do for this opponent, and the best way to get him to understand it. So the last thing I think about is my age and things like that. I just fully focused on getting the job done, whether it's the start of camp, whether it's we're not got a fight date scheduled. I'm just focused on the job really, and I don't take it all in. It's like anything, you appreciate things after, after they're done. So I do always appreciate and think and speak about being grateful for everything in life really. But I also know, I saw, it was Adam Booth said something, can't remember who it was with, but it was very, very true. He said, to become a high profile trainer, you have to have a high profile fighter. And it's very true, because I know some fantastic trainers that haven't got high profile fighters and are not well known and are not classed as good trainers, but they're fantastic trainers. I also know some high profile trainers that are not very good but work with high profile fighters. The conception of a good trainer is opinion. Some people might say Ben Davison is shit. Some people might say he's the best in the world. If I think to myself I'm the best trainer in the world, I'm this age and I'm training this person, then ego's going to blow up. I'm not going to be focused on how I can improve as a coach, which will then improve the boxers that I work with. So I don't think like that. And we have a group and a team that would never let you get above your station anyway, because they're all a down-to-earth group of lads, and you'll very quickly get a load of stick if you get a bit carried away with yourself, and that's the way it should be, and I like it that way.
I think it's important to point out I didn't necessarily mean from an ego point of view or sitting around. It's more of a kind of just an awareness, really.
Yeah.
Being aware of how long the sport's been around and how this is the first time it's happened. Even sometimes for me, it's not the same, but I'm covering Tyson Fury in Las Vegas, and in 50 years' time, I can tell my kids or my grandkids that I was there at Wilder Fury. That's special to me as a boxing fan. So that's kind of where I'm going for you, in a sense of, are you aware of how unique it is. What you're doing is at the minute. Does that creep into your mind at all? Not necessarily in a negative way, or make you egotistical, or make you. That's kind of the way I'm thinking.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and going into the Wilder fight, I was thinking, because I was very, very relaxed and very calm. I knew what needed to be done, and I remember thinking to myself that yourself was there. It was me, you, Coogan, and I was thinking, if the worst was to happen, people were going to say he had no idea what he was in for. He didn't know what it was all about. But then, if things had gone very well, people would have said he was so calm and relaxed. It was like he was so used to it. You can't win with people's opinions and that. And so, I'm a relaxed kind of person. And I just fully focused on the job at hand. Sometimes I try to pinch myself and say, yep, and I do that, and we always talk about that. What are the chances of that? But then, without being egotistical, I have always thought to myself. People say to me, "Did you always believe that you'd be at this stage at this age?" And the answer is yeah, I did, because I have full trust in my ability, and I knew that I had an eye for what I do, and I knew that if I had an eye for it, I would 100% get the best of me out of it, because I will work my arse off to be the best I can be, which will then make the fighters the best they can be, hopefully.
We've already mentioned it in this interview. High-profile trainers, high-profile fighters. Out of your stable of fighters, or who knows what Billy Joe's up to, you've got Tyson Fury, Billy Joe Saunders, two very, very gifted, naturally gifted fighters, and you've got Isaac Lowe. Now, Isaac Lowe is not on that level. Do you look at Isaac Lowe as your opportunity to build a fighter from this level and bring him up to that level?
I don't look at things like that at all, because I think to myself, whoever I'm working with, I want to get the best out of him. It's that simple. I don't think this is my opportunity for this, that's my opportunity for that. Same like with Tyson. When going into the Wilder fight, he was a complete underdog. Everybody thought it was going to be a 3-round demolition job. Everybody thought that. But all of a sudden he boxed how he boxed. Especially after the Sefer and the Pianetta fight, the comeback fights. People thought, you know what, he's not ready, he's getting obliterated. But then he went and boxed how he boxed. He's always been, he's this, he's that, he's blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Tyson's a very, very super talented individual. But he still needs a coach. Everybody needs a coach. And I believe that we're starting to see the best of him. And that is due to the effort that the full team's put in as well. Because, like I said, I employ, and Tyson employs, experts in their field. And we've got a full team of us that do a job with Tyson. And I'm not even talking about then his family. Everybody plays a role, and collectively as a team, I think we've done a very, very good job of him, bearing in mind where he was. So, my job is just to get the best out of everybody. Billy Joe's training with Dom for his next fight. I spoke to Billy Joe. Whether we work together or not, I've worked with him for a long time. On, off, bits here, bits there, bobs here, full camps, non-full camps. Don't get me wrong, I would love the opportunity to have 3 or 4 back-to-back camps with Billy Joe, because I know what I could get out of him. And I don't think anybody's seen the best of him yet. So, and Isaac's at the stage where he's still developing. Yeah, I want to keep developing him to the maximum potential that he's got. Because even go beyond the potential that he's got, because I feel like with the right philosophy you can outfill your own potential. Don't get me wrong, he's not the easiest to coach. He wants to learn, hungry to learn, but he's the type that you have to keep going over it and 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 over it. But we've done that we've been doing that, and I think everybody's seeing improvements. But like I say, anybody that I'm working with, I want to get the best out of them because it's my passion.
How long do you see yourself working in boxing? You're a very young man. I know we keep talking about your age. You're a very young man. I'm not as young as you anymore, but I kind of sometimes look at boxing and think like, Jesus. And I don't have to deal with anywhere near some of the stuff that you have to deal with behind the scenes. I look at boxing and think, I don't really want to be doing this for the next 30 years. Sorry, Boxing Social. But do you look at it like that? Is not necessarily but could you see yourself doing something else in the future? Could you see a chain of events happening that would lead you into another profession?
I don't really know nothing else. And I know that's the typical thing to say, but I don't, because if you want to get something, you've got to be 100% in it. So I don't really know anything else very well. This is all I know. So I could not, and this is no word of a lie, I couldn't change a light bulb. So that's how good I am. I have passions and that I would like to get involved in due time. Whether that'd steer me away from boxing, I don't know, but like what? I've got a passion for lions, and when I get a minute, I'm going to go and volunteer. But a lot of people don't know that lions were. They tried to estimate the number of lions that was in the wild about 15 years ago, I think it was. I might be a little bit off with numbers, but I'm roughly there. I think there was about 700,000. And they checked again in 5 years ago. What number do you think was left?
400,000.
200,000. So I know there's a lot of animal rights and this and that, and people disagree, but lions in captivity. Now, I don't mean in a small cage, but I don't know if people know about Kevin Richardson, the lion whisperer. He's got a sanctuary that's very, very as close to the wild as possible while caring for them, veterinary care, that sort of stuff. I'd like to go and do some volunteering, learn more about them. And I'd like to try and, at one point, I would like to see how I can help in that area. What else have I got? Obviously, a big thing for me is family. I want to start a family. I want to be able to spend time around. I've not spent no time on myself or with my partner for a very, very long time because I've been very, very busy going from one camp to another camp to another camp to another camp to another camp. And so I would like to have some time there to be able to have some family time. And I'd like, I've not seen a lot of my family for a long time. So when I get a minute, I would like to spend time with my family and enjoy them, because you never know what's around the corner. And I do always think about this. I do always think to myself, well, you never know what's around the corner. Tomorrow's not promised to nobody. And I always think about it, and I think I want to make sure that I see as much as my family as possible, because family's all we've got in this world, really. And I've got grandparents, and they're not getting any younger, and I want to be able to spend time with them, appreciate them, and have fond memories with them before the inevitable comes around, if that's a nice way of putting it.
How does it affect your family, you being away, because you're not in a normal job. You're working with big money, big talents, big personalities. You're travelling here, you're travelling there. As a parent myself, admittedly not to an adult, I would always want my child to be safe, to be secure, to be relaxed, to be calm. I wouldn't necessarily want her to be jet-setting around the world and doing this at such a young age, particularly going from point A to point B, where you've gone from out of the limelight, so to speak, to very much in the limelight. Does that affect your family, your parents?
Don't know. I don't know, because I'm very focused. So when I'm in training camp, I don't engage in bullshit conversations or chitter chatter and this, that, and the other. And you know, selfish, yeah, probably a bit stubborn, yeah, but I'm just focused on one thing. And like you say, I don't want to have a conversation where, and obviously it's the topic of everything is boxing. I don't want every time I speak to my family it to be about boxing. Or always about me. I want to talk to them. How's their day? How's their work going? How's, you know, but it's hard to keep the conversation on that road. But like I say, when I'm in a training camp, I don't want to know about those things. I'm focused on one thing. And yeah, my family probably do suffer from that because I'm only focused solely on what job we've got to do. So yeah, I'm sure it's tough on them. I'm sure it is tough on them. And so when I come back from after training camps and fights, you know, they want to talk and one of this and one of that, and sometimes it takes you a little bit of time to wind down, come back down, and loosen off a little bit to be able to have sensible conversation, so to speak.
Question just popped into my head. Tyson is a polarizing figure in boxing, in sport, in general. Do you think that you would have had the same criticisms that you've had if you trained, for example, Anthony Joshua? And that is literally just an example. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. He's just another high-profile British fighter. I'm not trying to get you to have a dig at AJ or anything like that.
No, of course. But what do you mean? Same criticism.
So,
an example.
Ben Davison's a yes man.
Oh right.
Ben Davison doesn't know what he's talking about.
Okay,
Do you think if you were with a different fighter, those voices would still be there, as intensely as they had, certainly at the start?
Yeah. Criticism, yes. Different type of criticism, probably. I mean, look at Rob McCracken getting a lot of criticism, very undeserved in my opinion. So there's always criticism, but that's part and parcel of boxing. To be honest, if you give a shit, then forget about it, because I don't care. I'm not bothered. I don't. Somebody's opinion is I'm the best in the world. I don't go, did you see that? Did you see that? And if somebody gives me a bit of stick, I don't run off crying. You know, I'm a balanced individual, full belief in myself, and just like a high-profile boxer has to be balanced. They can't read something on Twitter and start crying and maybe I'm no good, and you know, man up a little bit. Don't live in the world of social media. Use it as a platform where it is. Enjoy it, but don't let it give you your positives and your negatives. Just take it as what it is.
Do you have your moments of doubts though? Your moments of little insecurities?
Yep, 1,000,000%. I think everybody should, because if you don't, you're not going to be as good as you are. If I thought, I'm the bollocks, I ain't got to think about this, I ain't got to do that, I'm not going to go home and keep trying to improve and watch 5 to 6 hours of boxing every single day. Christian, if I'm not in the gym, what am I doing? Honest. How many fights would you say I watch a day?
At least 3 or 4.
That was at least 3 or 4.
So, you know, I view it as my job. As some people have a 9 to 5. They have to get up in the morning at 7 o'clock. They don't get home till 7 o'clock at night. So, I don't go to the gym, come back, lay down and go, lovely. That's me done for the day. Feet up. Christian will do his session later on. No. I come back and I'm watching boxing. I've got something in my mind that I want to work on that balance, or I want to work on this, or I want to work on how does a long range fighter deal with this, or how does a long range fighter add this repertoire in, or how does this short fighter do this, or how did this fighter deal against that style. And you know, I'm always looking and learning and wanting to improve, because you're always thinking, am I doing that right? Is that right? is that the right idea? What I had there? Did I give the right advice there? Was that? Is this the right game plan to go in with? And you need that. You need to be hungry to succeed. You need to be, and you need to keep that hunger. And the moment that hunger goes, for example, we're seeing it with Joshua now. I think, like he said, going into the Ruiz fight, I think he was a bit like, Ruiz is not what he wanted as a fighter. But now he's thinking, whoa, I'm hungry, I need this. And you know, he said himself something along the lines of about how the commercial things, everything like that's taken a back foot, because he might have got a little bit complacent, which is admitting himself there, which is the first step in the right direction. You're a fighter, so focus on that, and don't try to be a businessman. Don't try to be this. Don't try to be that. And I'm not talking about Joshua now. I'm talking about in general for boxers or for anything. You know, focus on what you're doing. If you want to be the best at it, focus on that. Don't be a jack of all trades. Be a master of one. And you know, there's plenty of time when you finish boxing to go into other areas, or if you're not happy doing your job and putting full effort in, don't bother doing it. In my opinion. So, you know, I'm fully focused on boxing. Of course, I'm always thinking, is that right? Is this right? Because I have the passion to be the best I can be.
Okay, well, I hope our viewers found that as interesting as I did. I thought it was quite revealing, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing it.
Always enjoy your company, Rob.
Thank you very much. Not many people say that, and the ones who do are often lying, so thank you.
I didn't tell I wasn't lying.
To be fair.
Do you mind if I give a few shout-outs to my new sponsors? I just want to give a big thanks to my new partnership with Starbucks and Starbucks Mints. It's been really good joining forces with Starbucks. The Champions League of coffees, and looking forward to a successful partnership.
Okay.
What, you don't think you've got to deal with Starbucks?
No.
Why would you think that I've not?
Because they're not on your shirt.
Yeah, but this is Tyson's shirt. It's a deal I've got myself with unlimited Americanos with cold soy milk with toffee nut syrup.
It's a really weird way to end a really interesting interview.
Sometimes you just got to keep them guessing a little bit.
Well, as I say, thanks very much for your time.
What did you order from Starbucks?
What do I order from Starbucks? What do you think? Don't say brownies. No.
Definitely a full fat latte.
Okay. Had to cut you off there. You're rambling on a little bit too much about coffee. Did enjoy it though, to be fair. It was a nice light-hearted end to the interview. What? You were about to say something. I just heard you breathe.
I was about to say what you said about coffee, but we'll leave it.
Yeah, we'll leave it. Okay, well, Ben, as always, real pleasure. As I said, it's similar to what I did yesterday with Tyson. We can talk, me and you especially, can do an interview tomorrow where people who thought this was boring and self-indulgent, we can ask questions about Deontay Wilder, etc. tomorrow.
Who else are they interested in? Deontay Wilder. Who else would they want you to ask questions about?
What if I was asking you?
Yeah.
What people who maybe found this boring would probably want me to ask you about? I don't really know, to be honest. Wilder, Hearn, Joshua, Ruiz. I haven't asked you about your Joshua Ruiz. Well, not on camera. About your Joshua, and I'm not going to now because you have to go, and I've got very, very limited card space, so I'll have to do that on one of the other. Yes, very much so.
No, brilliant. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Rob.